Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Cedar Point has lost quite a few roller coasters over the years, and I've been lucky enough to ride 4 of them. So in this video, I'm ranking the 4 defunct roller coasters I've ridden. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you know when new theme park content comes out. We do much more than just lists like this. We do park reviews, tier lists, and a lot of content both serious and funny. Now the 4 roller coasters that will be ranked are Wicked Twister, Thrill Dragster, Mantis, and Mean Streak. Let's jump right in. Number 4 is Mean Streak. I did not hate this one as much as most, but it was not a great ride. It definitely was quite rough. I thought though, the speed was pretty fun the whole way through, so even though it was a rough wooden coaster, there was some stuff I enjoyed on it. That said, the rattling was quite substantial. The big thing that stood out to me was how it reminded me of Gwazi, which is a ride that shakes you all the way through. And while I liked Mean Streak much more than Gwazi, it's not that far off. And I'm sure there were times where I felt like it was probably one of the worst roller coasters I'd been on, but overall, I thoroughly enjoyed the roller coaster because at that point, when I'd ridden it, I was fairly tolerant of roughness. Maybe now, if I were to go on it again, though I can't of course, I would change that sentiment, but for now, Mean Streak is not a terrible ride, though it is definitely the number 4 of these rides. Number 3 is Wicked Twister. This is a ride I think a lot of people didn't really like all that much, and I considered it quite underrated. People said it was quite rough, and I have to disagree. Actually, the other impulse I rode, Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Great America, was bumpier than Wicked Twister. And I felt Wicked Twister had a better launch, and just felt more intense. Sitting in the back getting pulled over the backward spike was an absolute blast. And I think the fact that it's not a vertical spike, but kind of a twisty vertical spike instead, really helps the ride. So a lot of people say those complaining about Wicked Twister being gone didn't actually miss the ride, but in my case, that's not true. I very much enjoyed it, and if it were still up today, it would easily be in my top 10 coasters at Cedar Point. It would be above Rougarou. I think it was a pretty strong ride. It wasn't necessarily a best of the best type thing, but it is one that I very much miss, very much enjoyed riding, and I think if other impulse coasters like Possessed are similar in terms of the forces and also the smoothness, I can understand why people like them. But overall, I think Wicked Twister was an excellent ride. Number 2 is Mantis. Mantis is one that I don't think a lot of people really think about much, mainly because it's kind of still standing, in the form of Rougarou. I'll say it right now, Mantis was significantly better than Rougarou. Rougarou, I cannot get past the roughness of the second half. The first half has grown on me, I enjoyed the vertical loop, and it's very intense overall, but it just does not work with the floorless coaster trains, and I do not enjoy it very much for the most part. And it's just kind of a good ride overall because the first half really does save it now. Mantis, on the other hand, was smooth. I hear coaster studios use the term glossy smooth when talking about Rougarou. I would say Mantis was glossy smooth. Now I understand that stand-up coasters are not the most popular model, but I never really had a big issue with the seating arrangement. It doesn't really hurt that much for me, so that's something that definitely helps the ride's ranking here. And I thought the vertical loop was just as good as it is on Rougarou, but the second half was just as intense and not nearly as rough. So it was more enjoyable, and it was basically the ultimate version of Rougarou now. I definitely wish Mantis was still there, but I get that floorless coasters were kind of dying out. So they wanted to bring more into their chain because before that, would they even have Hydra? I can't really think of another off the top of my head. But they were replacing the stand-up coasters that became truly obsolete with floorless coasters. They did the same thing with Patriot over at California's Great America, and people don't like that one much either. I wonder if people really like the stand-up coaster there, but nonetheless, I very much enjoyed Mantis. I miss it quite a bit, and as far as B&Ms go, it was pretty underrated. That said, number 1 had to be Thrill Dragster. I don't think this is really surprising anyone, but it's simply the best one of these 4. Its first launch, and by first launch, I mean only launch. But honestly, there are certain parts that are such a rush in this ride, you forget how many launches there might be. It's insane. It's really sudden even though you know when it's going to happen because of the traffic light. It gets the speed up so quickly, I cannot believe the acceleration on the ride. And once you're at the top, the first drop, and only drop of course, is twisty and weird, but you get pushed back into your seat so much. By the end, your hair will not look the same for the most part, and I just feel that Thrill Dragster was the 4th best roller coaster of Cedar Point, which maybe does not sound like the greatest honor, but consider that it was probably my number 12 roller coaster in the world. Maybe a bit lower, but for the most part, I just think Thrill Dragster was a perfect ride. Short for sure, but everything about it was such a rush, an absolute blast, and I very much missed the ride. And I am eager to see what it's like when it is reimagined, but I like imagining that it'll stay the same because there was nothing I disliked about it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this list. I know it was a short one, but there's only 4 things to rank, so I guess it had to be. Subscribe for more theme park content. I'll see you next time.